Wednesday, September the 23rd. Lake level is just a little over 916. It's come down about 11 inches or so in the past week. It's coming down about inch and a half a day, and it's probably going to continue to do that till we get some rain. But the water temperature, it's actually trying to cool down. In the mornings, it's 76, 77. But with it getting up to 80 degrees every day, late in the day, the surface temperature's been getting back up into the 80s. But there's some different things starting to go on. The bait fish are trying to move back into the creeks. And, right now the whole lake's got about the same color or stain in it. As a matter of fact, the further you go up the rivers, you'll actually get into some cleaner water. So, the whole lake seems to be fishing about the same. A lot of the same things going on from one end to the next. A lot of times this time of year we're looking for some of the stained water to fish shallower, but you got as much stained water up there by the dam and around Kimberling as you do like up in Long Creek or up in the James. And a lot of the creeks, you'll notice the shad are starting to move back in there. And a few of them, we've been catching fish out of the backs of the creeks. Now I think the fish are going to follow the shad as the water cools down and move, they move back in there a little bit better. But there seems to be a few things going on out there deep too, where we haven't had much of any kind of deep suspended bite all summer long because there's so much water been going through the lake. Well, the last 2 weeks it's finally kind of stabilized. And I don't think a thermocline is setting up because it's kind of too late in the year. Normally this is the time of year our thermocline starts to break up. But I have noticed the bait fish, and we've been catching quite a few Kentuckys out there suspended. Now they've been out over deeper water. They've been anywhere. The deep bite had been no deeper than 22, 25 feet for most of the summer. It seems to be getting a little bit deeper now. I'm seeing a lot more fish in that 30 to 35 feet. Some of them are over 50 and 60. And as these shad move back into the creeks, a guy wants to kind of follow them shad because them fish will start coming out of the deep trees that are in the middle of these pockets. They'll also start getting around the docks. There's still a pretty good crankbait bite, whether you're throwing a Series 3 Strike King, Series 5, a Wigglewort, or the Spro Rock Crawler. And it seems to be kind of short-lived. It's working for about 2 hours or so in the morning. Then, if you don't have any wind, it seems to get a little bit tougher. But they will bite a spinnerbait, in the same areas. And you just got to cover a lot of water. You may catch fish out on a main lake, on a bluff end or a bluff swing. And you may catch them almost all the way in the back of the creek. It seems like the best thing to look for is rock transition, where it goes from pea gravel to football-sized rock. Now, a lot of the way I've been catching those suspended fish, we did a little video last week with Bill Beck. We picked his brain, and if you didn't get a chance to watch it, you can go on YouTube and watch it, or I think there's also a link on our site to it. But he gave us the insides on how he fishes a flutter spoon, and he had a lot of pretty neat little tips on there. But I'm catching some on a flutter spoon, I'm catching some on an underspin, and I'm throwing several different ones. This is one that Jewel makes. This is Swimming Hornet here. And then this other one is one that Pig Sticker makes. But what I've done with this Pig Sticker one is I put a little skirt on it. I haven't really noticed it being, too much difference between the ones with and without a skirt. It's just something I'm playing with. But I've got a little 2.8 Kitech for a trailer on this one. On this one I've got a Swim Fluke Junior. And what's good about these is whatever depth you see the fish and the shad at out in these deeper creeks, you can drop this bait down and just run a steady retrieve back. Kind of twitch it every once in a while as you're retrieving it back in. I've still been catching a few fish on a white slab spoon and also a flutter spoon. This is a Dixie Jet here, and it's just a 7/8 ounce War Eagle. And I've been catching some on a chrome also. This is a Strike King. These are both 5/8 ounce. And the flutter spoon, I've been catching the fish more around the outside edges of the dock. The slab spoon, I've been actually pitching it into the deeper stalls. What you got to do is just keep a close eye on your line. You may get bit anywhere from 10 to as deep as 30 feet around some of the docks. And also, where I said them Kentuckys are starting to group up a little bit over the tops of them trees, the drop shot bites actually been picking up quite a bit. And the bottom depth really doesn't seem to matter that much. It seems like the depth you want to key in for the fish is anywhere from 25 to 35 foot for the last few days where the fish seem to be hanging. But I've been throwing like a chompers, brown purple lamb. This is a robo worm, Aaron's Magic. And plum is kind of my favorite color, one that a buddy of mine makes for me. But there's been, a little bit of that going on, which we haven't had a real strong drop shot bite. But also up in the river arms, like I was saying, if you can find pockets that got the shad in them, I've been able to get a few bites on square bills. Fishing the visible laydowns and any kind of structure that's back in the creeks. You can also flip some of the boat docks, on the main lake and in the creek. The boat dock bites kind of been like the bite in the backs of the creeks. You'll have to fish several of them to try to get a pattern going. It seems like the square bill fish, the bait is the key. If you got bait in the back of the pocket, there's a good chance you'll get bit on a square bill. The spinner baits, I've been throwing these in the morning, especially around the ends of the deep docks. And in the same place, I'm throwing a wiggle wart. I'm throwing, several different colors, but they're basically all shad pattern colors. And I've been throwing a Screaming Eagle, which is a war eagle. What it's got 1/4 ounce blades, but it's got a 1/2 ounce head. You can cover a lot of water. If you want to fish it deeper, it'll draw quick. The reason the small blades, a lot of the little shore minnows are up, real small ones. This little chartreuse and white here and blue heron. But any of these shad pattern spinner baits will work. And you also might want to try some of them in the backs of the creek as well. So, I don't know, we've got that BASS Open tournament coming up next week. I think there's going to be a lot of fish caught, but from what I'm seeing, the quality, anybody that gets a 4-pound plus fish is going to make a big difference each day. We've been able to catch several keepers, but they seem to be right around the 2-pound range. So, and that's kind of typical for the fall. If you go back through previous events, this time of year, 12.5, 13 pounds a day is pretty strong if you can do that 2-3 days in a row. But the weather's been absolutely gorgeous out there. There's hardly nobody out on the lake except for fishermen. This next weekend will probably be a lot busier because all the guys fishing the Bass Open will be here practicing. But if you get a chance, you need to get out and enjoy the fall. And, another thing that'll bite also, too, the same banks that you're throwing a wiggle wart on, try a little Ned rig. I've been catching several fish on that. The thing is with the crankbait and the Ned rig, you might catch 15 fish in an hour. The problem is some of them will be 8 to 10 inches, but then you'll come across a 2.5, 3 pounder. Been a lot of little fish mixed up in there with the keeper fish. There's been more small fish. But if you want to get some action, just put on a little Ned rig, fish some of them same transition banks. And one more thing on the flutter spoons, Sportsman Factory outlet in Springfield has them in stock, and I think Fin and Feather will have them in stock in a few days. So, till next week, good luck, good fishing.